Assalamu alaikum guys. In this video we'll talk about one-to-one relationship. The one-to-one relationship, as its name suggests, uses to define that, for example, a user should have only one phone number. As here in our case we have phones table, and here we have phone number and foreign ID for user, and we have two models, the phone and user. Now let's define the relationship one or has one on user side, and I will say function here phone, and I will say return this has one. We say if user has one phone only, and I will say phone class, and the second and third parameter defines the foreign ID. For example, imagine that the primary key is not ID, or this model is not user, right? We can define it, for example, as customer if the name is customer ID, or this column name, for example, if the name is customer ID. We should also define it in the second parameter to be customer ID here, but I will keep it as user ID. And the third parameter is the local ID inside user's table. So if the local ID inside user's table, for example, called maybe UID or any other name UID, right? We can also, or we must define it as UID here. So I will keep it because by default Laravel will be detect the phone and owner key by default. I have no change. On the other side, phone side, I will define a belongs to or the inverse relation for user. So I will say function user and return this belongs to user class. So let's back and refresh, and I will quickly try to create a new user and create his phone number. So I will say user, here user again, factory to create it quickly, create, and after creating it I will say please create a phone for this user, create, and the phone number here will be, for example, 123 123 and so on, right? Here is how to create two associated user. If you want also you can do something like this, phone create, and you must assign user ID, and for example will be this user ID here, and you can say phone number will be like this. Two these methods are the same. Select what you want, but I prefer this method because it's more readable, right? So I will back and refresh, back and check here also phones, new user, and has its phone. What if, for example, created by mistake another phone number for this user? I will say, for example, here find this user that already has a phone number and create another one, 1 2 3 4 5, back and refresh, check again. We have by mistake here user has two phone numbers. Which one will be selected if we check the relationship like this in our tinker? Let's see which one will be selected. By the way, the first one always will be selected. If we back here and I will say user, find this user and the phone, the first one here will be selected always, this one, right? Also there is a nice message you can use. For example, if let's imagine another user reported that this user number is mine, and that means this phone number doesn't belong to this user and they want to update it to the real user. We can say here, for example, I will assign this phone number to user ID number 1, and let's say phone here, and I will say phone find 1, this phone, and we can say phone user associate to the new user. And if you use associate, don't forget to use phone save method, this one, back and refresh, back to our database. Also the user has been changed. If this user ID is nullable, let's change it. This user ID is nullable, I will set it to yes, right? And if you want to remove any user related to this phone number, we can use dissociate directly, dissociate method, back and refresh our data, and as we can see here, user ID set null directly. Of course you can use also something like this, phone user ID, and you can say user directly. If we refresh, it must be user ID, set again. And you can use update also instead of save. Here you can say update user ID, here user ID, back and refresh, because update, we can use update without save, it must be an array. Refresh again, refresh, same result. Let's change the user ID to make sure, and again works successfully. So here's quickly how to use one-to-one relationship. If you want this full support, remember clicking on like, share and subscribe. See you next video.